So there was a list over at CBS Sports. We love a good list. Who doesn't love a good list? The list was discussing and laying out, I believe it was just before Darian Mensah's transfer to Miami, the most impactful quarterbacks that have transferred to a new team going into 2026. Number 1 on the list was Drew Messamaker. Number 2 on the list was Brendan Sorsby, going to Texas Tech from Cincinnati. Messamaker, of course, going to Oklahoma State from North Texas. Seems like a little bit of a reach. And then there at number 3 was Josh Hoover. And I just wanted to take the time here on this show to correct the idea that any quarterback that has transferred to a new team is going to be more singularly impactful than Josh Hoover at Indiana. I say this because the Hoosiers just completed the best season in the history of the program, one of the best seasons in the history of college football. Few, I think only 1 or 2 ever have gone 16-0 in a college football season. And they are still currently the best story in college football. For all the drama and attention that gets generated for things like the transfer portal and NIL and rule changes and committees and hearings and lawsuits and all that sort of stuff, Indiana is fundamentally an awesome college football story, or just sports story in general. The worst program ever wins a national championship with a new coach in 2 years, and now they're paying him $13 million a year because they know just how good he is, and they don't want to let him slip away. They didn't want to become the cheapskates who let coaches walk because it's just too much money, it's too crazy. No, they adapted quickly after making the best hire in recent memory. Yeah, Indiana is a fantastic story by any objective metric. If you just step back, I don't think you even have to step back very far. I think you just look at them and go, man, that's awesome. That's incredible. I can't believe that they did that. And they did it without recruiting at an insane level the way, just about every other national champion has done, which makes it all the more impressive, of course. But bringing this back to what I was just talking about, any list that goes out and says there is a transfer quarterback more impactful than Josh Hoover, who's not coming from a bad program, by the way, I don't think is anywhere close to being accurate. Because what Curt Cignetti has done with the last 2 years with a Heisman winner and what would have been a Heisman finalist until his injury the year before with Curtis Rourke coming over from Ohio, I don't know that there's been a better quarterback system to go into for transfers. Yeah, I'm including Lane Kiffin, by the way, who's top tier. I'm including Lincoln Riley, by the way, who's top tier. I'll put Cignetti in his system at number 1. He's got his offensive coordinator back, by the way. Don't forget. But Indiana is attempting to continue the best story that I think I've ever seen in college football. And it's on his shoulders because quarterback is not an afterthought. Indiana's a more complete team than most people realize. It's not exactly 2023 Michigan where J.J. McCarthy can win a big game on the road. Granted, it was against Penn State, but he won a big game on the road throwing 8 passes. That's not what Indiana is. You got to make big-time NFL caliber throws, and Josh Hoover is a guy that can go win a national championship at Indiana this year. I fully believe that. I'm a huge Josh Hoover fan. I had him as my number 1 quarterback in the Big 12 going into last year. He needs to cut down on the turnovers. You know how you do that? You get put in a system that supports you incredibly well, which Indiana has, and you get a coaching staff that knows what they're doing. Curt Cignetti and his guys certainly do. And you've got the experience to be able to learn from those mistakes. Every single box you could want from a quarterback transfer is checked here with Josh Hoover. Now, the reason that I say he is on this list, and I do have Darian Mensah on this particular list, but the reason I put Josh Hoover ahead is Miami is not the same level of story, doesn't have the same level. They're one of the 5 most interesting teams, 5, 6, 7-ish. Certainly they're inside the top 10 going into next year because they just, made a run to the national championship game, and their schedule, I think, will allow them to go right back to the college football playoff, as I talked about not long ago here on the show. Darian Mensah is certainly my number 2. It's just that the story of Indiana and what they're trying to continue, they didn't lose a game this past year. When are they going to lose? We know it won't be in the non-conference because Indiana's non-conference slate is a joke. But Josh Hoover is the guy he's got to be number 1 on any sort of quarterback impact transfer list. Experience, pedigree, potential, situation, narrative, it's all there. It's all there. So I put Mensah, of course, right there at number 2 because, look, the story of that aside, does it feel great, clean? Is it a feel good the way Indiana is that Mensah just bolted Duke, who was paying him handsomely to go to Miami, who's paying him more? No. As a college football fan, outside of Coral Gables, Florida, no, it doesn't make you feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside. But when you look at what Carson Beck did this past year and what Mensah has accomplished in his last 2 seasons of college football, he brings plenty of experience to the table. And you look at what Cam Ward did the year before. Yeah, Miami's quarterback, one of the most important situations in all of college football every single year because Mario Cristobal, even though he's losing some guys to the NFL like Francis Maui Noah, he's got players back in the secondary. He's still got Malachi Toney. They've still recruited really well, brought in some pieces via the portal. If he wasn't going to be there, Miami might not have been a playoff team. Miami might have been, because of the quarterback options they had without him there, they might have been 7-5, 8-4. I might be selling the Hurricanes a touch short there. I would not have put them in the college football playoff. Now with Darian Mensah, I do. Only other guy that has that sort of singular impact on a national level that changed teams this year is Josh Hoover. So, well, let me rephrase that. The only guy that has that sort of impact that didn't change teams this past year, Trinidad Chambliss over at Ole Miss. But another name that fits into this particular discussion that almost didn't wind up there and just has me wondering as to why there was another option being pursued. Is there an injury problem? We shall see. Spring football's getting underway in the next couple weeks. Sam Leavitt at LSU. The reason I don't put Brendan Sorsby in my top 3, I like Brendan Sorsby. I do. I don't know that Brendan Sorsby is so much better than Baron Morton was last year, who was good. Obviously was not against Oregon in the Peach Bowl when he led his team to 0 whole points, and his turnovers were indeed a factor in that. I don't know that Sorsby is so much better than Baron Morton. And this is not me saying Sorsby isn't good. He is. It's just that between Brendan Sorsby and Sam Leavitt, I'd rather have Sam Leavitt. Between LSU and Texas Tech, it's close. I'd probably rather have LSU's roster. I'd probably rather have Texas Tech's schedule. I think LSU is more likely to be a playoff team than Texas Tech next year, though I expect both to be able to make it. LSU's path is tougher. There's no question about it. But Sam Leavitt going from Arizona State to LSU, it's such an awesome fit. There's so much Jackson Dart to this, to me, with that Lane Kiffin offense. I think that what that marriage is going to be between coach and play caller and quarterback, pretty sure Lane Kiffin's calling the plays. He usually does. Not always, but we'll see. But I think that what Sam Leavitt brings to the table is more than enough to get LSU where Brian Kelly just couldn't. And in year 1, the expectations are there. I've talked about that a lot. So I think those 3 guys, if Leavitt hadn't gone there, by the way, if he'd found a home previously, well, LSU was going after Damon Williams from Washington, trying to pull him away at the last moment, and then he backtracked and went there, and then they got Sam Leavitt. Where would these guys be? LSU would be starting Hassan Longstreet. Miami would be starting, I don't even know who. Indiana would they have taken a shot on Alberto Mendoza? Nope, he went out the door. He's down at Georgia Tech. So, Josh Hoover, Indiana, Darian Mensah, Miami, Sam Leavitt, LSU. Those are my 3 most impactful quarterback transfers going into 2026. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter. However you want to get in touch. I need to do something important to wrap today's show. Fix targeting. They might fix it. Someone else might actually do this.